The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
Bill Clinton's been getting in the way of Hillary's campaign. Can you believe that? She's really upset about it, so she's encouraging him to start dating again. That's a political joke. Thank you, Demetrius. News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten. We're on demand on iTunes. We're on demand on YouTube singular. We're on demand at my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to comment on my comments. And we are syndicated coast to coast across the United States of America by CRN Digital Talk Radio into 12 million additional households, and we thank our friends there for that. Did you guys hear that Obama and Hillary Clinton are knocking on doors, looking for votes? Well, Obama's knocking on doors in Pennsylvania looking for votes. Hillary's knocking on doors looking for Bill. Well, why are we telling these jokes? Because of our guest today. Our guest is Russell Peterson. He's the author of a book called Strange Bedfellows, How Late Night Comedy Turns Democracy into a Joke. I don't know whether the late night television turns democracy into a joke or politics turns democracy into a joke, because the jokes are the reality. Russell Peterson, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Thanks, Gary. Glad to be talking to you.
Glad to have you here. So polls indicate that a significant number of Americans, especially those under the age of 30, get at least some of their news, and I put that in quotation marks, about politics and national affairs from comedy shows. I've got a 20-year-old son, and it's not unusual to see him and his friends gathered around the television set, not to watch Katie Couric. No. They're watching Jon Stewart and, of course, the Colbert Report. And I think they actually do get a little bit of news, even though both of them are comedy shows. What is happening?
Well, the poll that you're referring to there was conducted by the Pew Center, which of course does a lot of public opinion polling. And that is one of the reasons that I wrote this book, is to sort of put that into some context. Because one sort of mistaken impression that people have gotten from that Pew poll is that people are watching comedy and only comedy, and that comedy and the news are sort of competing with each other, and that's a little bit of an oversimplification. In fact, comedy is there's nothing in the poll that says that that comedy and news are mutually exclusive. So, in fact, there's a legitimate question whether people would be able to understand the jokes Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert and so forth are doing if they didn't have some knowledge of what was going on in the world. But it is adding some dimensions to our understanding of politics. And in some ways that's a bad thing, and in other ways it's, frankly, I think, a good thing.
Well, at least it gets people talking about the politics. And with some of the, actually, don't the late night comedians, whether it is Jon Stewart or whether it is Colbert or Leno or Letterman or the late night ones like Jimmy Kimmel, aren't they actually saying what the reporters really would like to say? Aren't they raising the questions that the reporters would really like to raise, but they can't because of their positions?
Well, in some cases, yes. I mean, I think what people find satisfying about political comedy is it cuts through all the politeness and the sort of journalistic objectivity that reporters are obliged to maintain the appearance of, at least. And they can just, as you say, just say what people are thinking. The the crucial distinction that I think needs to be made when we're talking about this, though, is between two different kinds of political comedy. One that's sort of been more common on television for years and years, the kind that Jay Leno and David Letterman and all the other network shows do, Conan O'Brien and Kimmel, which is really the same kind that Johnny Carson used to do, which is kind of really anti-political comedy, where although they're not bound by the same kind of rules of withholding judgment that reporters are, and they can say things more directly in a way, they're still trying to maintain the largest audience possible and be what they call equal opportunity offenders. And the result of that is we just get this message repeated to us over and over on these network shows that all politicians in every election year are always bad, and they're equally bad, they're equally foolish, crooked, shallow, whatever they are. But what Stewart and Colbert do, I think, is a little bit different. They do something that requires a little more commitment to the idea that politics is important, even if it's full of things that frustrate us and things that we think are stupid, that there is something important going on, and it's not just a game, and that it does really matter, and that our choices do matter in the real world.
The guest is Russell Peterson. He is the author of the book Strange Bedfellows, How Late-Night Comedy Turns Democracy into a Joke. And the candidates recognize this as